Imagine this, you're at your favorite dive bar, the lights are low, the music is loud, and your 3IP as deep, feeling absolutely invincible. You just ordered a massive non-vegetarian platter because, hey, you earned it. You're mid-laugh telling a story that's definitely 40% exaggeration when you take a savage-sized bite of steak. You don't chew, you just swallow. But instead of hitting your stomach, that 6 centimeter bolus of beef decides to take a detour. It wedges itself perfectly between your pharynx and the base of your windpipe, creating a vacuum seal that would make NASA jealous. Suddenly, the air hunger kicks in. It's not just holding your breath, it's a primal, agonizing scream from your nervous system that something is very, very wrong. You reach for your neck. Your friends think you're doing a hilarious bit. They're laughing. But you're experiencing what the pros call a cafe coronary. There's no coughing, no gasping, no Hollywood drama, just a silent, terrifying descent into darkness as your vagus nerve decides to pull the master kill switch on your heart because it can't handle the pressure. Your nail beds turn a lovely shade of bruised plum blue. Your brain starts counting down its final 4 minutes of existence before it turns into expensive mush. The laughter fades. The floor rushes up to meet you. And just like that, you is dead. But how exactly does a piece of medium rare ribeye turn into a lethal weapon? In under 10 seconds, let's crack open the ribcage and look at the mechanism of the meat. So you're on the floor. Your friends are still nursing their drinks, probably wondering if they should film your performance for a TikTok. But inside your neck, a very specific type of biological warfare is being waged. You didn't just choke, you triggered a cafe coronary. Here's the science of how a piece of ribeye becomes a literal kill switch. Most people think choking is a loud, dramatic struggle, lots of gut noises, and frantic pointing at the throat. That's standard asphyxia. But you're doing it the refined way. When that massive bolus of food, usually meat, because nature is ironic, wedges itself between your pharynx and the bifurcation of your trachea. It hits a high-security sensor called the superior laryngeal nerve. Think of this nerve as the self-destruct button your body forgot to hide. Instead of triggering a massive cough to blast the meat out, the stimulation of this nerve sends a panicked signal straight to your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the CEO of your involuntary functions. And in this moment, the CEO has decided the company is bankrupt. It triggers reflex vagal inhibition, which tells your heart to simply stop. This is why there's no coughing, no gasping, no Hollywood drama. Your heart undergoes a sudden cardiac arrest because your nervous system overreacted to a steak, while standard choking gives you a few minutes of air hunger where you feel like your lungs are screaming for a hit of O2. Vagal inhibition is a fast pass to the afterlife. But let's say your heart doesn't stop immediately. Maybe it's stubborn. Now you're entering the world of cerebral hypoxia, where your brain starts to realize the oxygen tank is empty. Your brain is the ultimate diva. It's only 1.4% of your body weight, but it demands 20% of your oxygen. Within seconds, the lack of O2 causes your blood pressure to tank. Since you can't eliminate CO2, your blood pH starts to drop, turning your internal chemistry into a toxic waste dump. If you aren't lucky enough to have your heart quit instantly, you get to experience the deadly timeline where every second is a nail in your literal coffin. How long do you actually have before your consciousness leaves the chat? Let's break down the 4-minute countdown to mush. Welcome to the 4-minute countdown to mush. Since you aren't breathing, we have to move fast. 0 to 10 seconds, the oh crap bomb phase. You are fully conscious and increasingly desperate. Your body is screaming with air hunger, a primal, agonizing sensation that your lungs are empty and the world is closing in. If this is a standard choke, you're frantically pointing at your throat. If it's a cafe coronary, you might just collapse silently as your heart hits the stop button before you even realize you're in trouble. 15 to 30 seconds, lights out. The oxygen in your blood is depleted. Your brain, that high-maintenance diva, realizes the supply chain has collapsed. You lose consciousness and hit the floor. Your friends probably think you've just had too much to drink, but internally, your blood pressure is tanking and your system is flooding with CO2. 1 to 2 minutes, the survival dance. You've entered the stage of convulsions. Your body is twitching involuntarily because your nervous system is misfiring while it suffocates. Your nail beds and lips are now a lovely shade of cyanosis, a bruised, deep purple that signifies your tissues are literally starving. 3 minutes, the permanent damage window. If someone hasn't cleared your airway yet, you're in big trouble. Brain cells start dying in mass quantities. This is where surviving becomes a relative term. You're looking at cerebral hypoxia that can lead to lifelong brain damage, seizures, or a permanent vegetative state. 4 to 5 minutes, game over. This is the hard limit. Brain death occurs. At this point, your conscious self has likely moved on to phase 1 of a near death experience, floating above your body and judging your friends for still trying to wait it out. It sounds like a horror movie, right? But before you swear off steak forever, we need to talk about how Hollywood has been lying to you. Think you can just give yourself a quick self-Heimlich like a movie hero? Let's look at reality versus film. Reality check. Hollywood loves a good choking scene. The actor stands up, knocks over his chair, and does a dramatic interpretation of a broken accordion. He's hacking, gasping, and pointing at his throat like he's trying to win a game of life or death charades. That is a total lie. In a real deal choking event, especially a cafe coronary, there are often zero signs of respiratory distress or asphyxia. You don't gasp, you don't wheeze, you just collapse. This is why the people at the table next to you usually think you're having a heart attack or just had one IPA too many. Your vocal cords need air to vibrate, and if your airway is vacuum sealed by a 6 centimeter piece of meat, you aren't making a sound. If you're making noise, you're still breathing. If you're quiet, that's when the Reaper starts checking his watch. And forget about that cinematic last message to your loved ones. In movies, you have 10 minutes to write a will and find a pen. In reality, you have about 10 to 15 seconds of useful consciousness before your brain decides to pull the shades and close for the day. If that bolus is putting pressure on your carotid arteries, you're out before you can even realize your guilty pleasure just became a deadly sin. Then there's the Heimlich maneuver. In films, one quick squeeze and the olive flies across the room like a bullet, hitting a waiter in the eye. In the real world, it's violent. You're more likely to crack a rib fracture, your larynx, or rupture an internal organ than get that cinematic pop. And if you're choking on something sticky like a massive, unchewed spoonful of peanut butter, the Heimlich is basically suggestion. That bolus acts like organic superglue. Trying to cough it up is like trying to blow a marshmallow through a straw using a broken bike pump. You aren't a hero. You're a biological accident in a dive bar. So you're on the ground, your nail beds are turning a lovely shade of cyanotic blue, and the Hollywood version of your life has officially been canceled. How do you actually stay on this side of the dirt? Let's talk about the only things that might actually save your life. Survival advice. So you've ignored the chew your food advice your mom gave you for 20 years, and now you're turning a shade of cyanotic purple that really doesn't match your outfit. If you want to keep your consciousness from leaving the chat, you need to act before your brain turns into a collection of dead neurons. Step 1. Stop being a social coward. If you feel that bolus hit the kill switch, do not. I repeat, do not run to the bathroom to hide your embarrassment. People die in stalls because they didn't want to make a scene. Make the scene. Be the scene. Knock over a table if you have to. You need a witness who is in a roll of industrial toilet paper. Step 2. The pneumatic piston. The Heimlich piston. If you have friends who aren't useless, they need to perform the 5 and 5 approach. 5 sharp back blows followed by 5 abdominal thrusts. Mechanically, they are trying to use the residual air in your lungs as a pneumatic piston to blast that 6 centimeter steak bullet out of your throat. If you're alone, you have to be your own hero, which is statistically depressing. Find a sturdy chair. Don't sit in it. Position the back of the chair just below your ribs and drive your weight into it with everything you've got. You're basically trying to punch yourself in the diaphragm from the inside out. The peanut butter exception. If you're choking on the sticky stuff, the Trader Joe's special, the Heimlich, might fail because that bolus is essentially biological superglue. In this specific high viscosity hell, some survivors have found luck by taking tiny sips of water to erode a hole in the seal, or by using the manual override, shoving your fingers down your throat to induce vomiting or physically hook the mass. It's gross, it's violent, and it beats being a corpse. The 36-hour warning. Even if you pop the cork and start breathing again, go to the ER. You might have fractured your larynx, cracked a rib, or caused internal swelling that can kill you 36 hours later while you're sleeping. Survival isn't a one and done deal. It's a marathon, so you've survived. You've cheated the Reaper, and all it cost was your dignity and a very expensive ribeye. But before we wrap this up and you go back to inhaling your lunch, let's look at the final bill. Here's the conclusion, and why your next meal might be your last guilty pleasure. So what's the final bill for that last meal? You've seen the science. A single bolus of ribeye measuring just 6 centimeters or 2 greedy unchewed spoonfuls of peanut butter is all it takes to turn your night out into a permanent vacation. Your brain starts a one-way high-speed trip through those 8 phases of a near death experience. You get a front row seat to your own life review, which, let's be honest, is probably just a cringe compilation of you making questionable decisions in slow motion while your soul floats toward a godlike light. The survival math is simple. Chew your food like your life depends on it, because it actually does. If you're eating steak or sticky spreads, treat every bite like a bomb disposal operation. One wrong move, one failure to inhale before you ingest, and you're a star attraction in a forensic journal. And for the love of everything holy, don't be a polite corpse. Never run to a bathroom stall to hide your embarrassment. If you can't breathe, be the loudest, most annoying person in the room. Better to be the guy who knocked over the appetizer tray than the janitor finds cold at 2 a.m. Go get a medical checkup. If you've had a close call, internal swelling can still take you out 36 hours later while you're dreaming of better snacks. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the biological abyss, hit that subscribe button. It's significantly less painful than hitting the floor. Check out our other videos to learn more ways your own body is trying to fire you from the job of living. Next time you're at the bar, remember, the steak might be medium rare, but your life well done. Congrats, you're now a carbon emission. It's capitalism, baby.